this session. So just a quick one before we get into the class for today. So this is for people that's probably you still have issues with your previous task. So I think the mentors are reaching out to you with the problems that you're supposed to fix, or they've reviewed your work and then they've posted probably what you should work on, and maybe that's still pending from your own end, or maybe you've done it and then the mentors have not gotten back to you on that. So if you've not done it, please just try and effect those changes that you were asked to do, and then reach out to someone to do that. So we should take note of that. Then also, for those people that are still in stage one up till this point, I don't know what the issue is, but if you're sincerely having serious issues with maybe your task or something, please try and reach out so that someone can help you. Because if you close your mouth and just sit back there, I don't know what good it does for you. And also, for everyone on the call, please, if you see someone that is lagging behind and then you can help out, you can help the person out. Just lend a helping hand and pull everybody, because most times this thing we get, you don't do it alone. You try and help as much people as you can. So just those ones that came off the top of my head. Yeah. Right. So okay, yeah. Does anybody have any question as per the previous class or something? Yes. Going into a new world today. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. Can you guys hear me? Let me be certain I'm not. You're sounding distant. All right. All right. So let's just. Yeah, so let's just get right to it. So we are talking about Git and GitHub. So previously, we've been working on CodePen. We've we've been working with CodePen, and then you have to upload images. You have to use absolute URLs, and I've been getting responses from people that, oh, I have to do a whole lot of uploads and all of that, and it's getting it's getting too much. All this kind of reviews from you guys. So the whole aim of using CodePen was because people don't understand Git and GitHub. People don't know how to use an online repository. So I'm going to explain all these terminologies I'm using. I'm going to break it down so that we get to know why we need to use it, and what it's used for, what it is. So I don't know, probably we've been hearing people talk about Git, GitHub, yes, having your code stored somewhere and all of that. So today is going to bring us into the know of what Git and GitHub is about. And then probably we'll now say a little goodbye to CodePen for a while. Yeah. So probably we'll say a little goodbye to CodePen, and then focus on using using Git to push our codes, host our codes, and then I get to see what you've done so far instead of having to look at it from KodeCamp. So yeah, so we're actually going to learn about that. So I think I've talked a lot about about the introduction. So let me just so the idea of Git and GitHub is more like when people actually started out. So you have this instance where some people probably you're in the same location, but all of you are working on different aspects of a project. So let's say, for instance, it's a whole website or a whole website. And then it consists of maybe a login page, a sign up page, about page, and all of that. And then different people are actually meant to work on. So can you guys hear me? All right. Okay, so the whole idea of Git was when people worked in that kind of situation, probably what they do is if someone is working on an about, he has to finish working on his phone and then probably copy his code and so that they now kind of merge their work together just to have a whole project. Now, supposing this person I'm working with is not in this country, yeah, is far away from me. So what happens in that kind of scenario? How do I send the code to the person? And then even during the process of maybe copying and pasting, some files might get lost or get corrupt and you probably have to now start all over again. So Git and GitHub was now, it now came into the picture. So you can stay in the comfort of your home and then collaborate with someone from another part of the world or the country. Yeah. And then you guys work on the same project and then you are able to push out the project. So Git and GitHub makes it kind of effortless. Like you are able to do that. And then, for instance, let's look at Facebook, for instance, now. Now, a whole lot of people are actually working on this. And then someone writes a code. On your end, it works. And then you kind of maybe push it directly to Facebook, maybe repository where they have all their files. And then for some reasons, it doesn't work well as it breaks. You know what will happen to people that day? Facebook closed or stopped working for some minutes. And then I actually felt for some people because that's where their life is. So pushing codes directly to the main repository where the main project is not the best kind of practice because you can actually push errors, you can actually push things that are not working there, and then it kind of breaks the site. So with Git and GitHub, you're able to control different versions of an application. So you're building it bit by bit, you're testing stuff before you push it out for people to use. So on my screen, I hope you can see my screen, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So So I have here what is version control, because you use Git for version control. It's a version control system. So version control is a system that records changes to a file or set of files over time so that you can recall specific versions later. So still in line with what I was saying. So you have probably you've worked on the about page, and then you want to add the contact page. So you have a new version before you test it out whether it's working well before you now push it. So these are like versions, different versions. The one that people have that everybody can access is one version. Now, when you add the contact page on your local device, so you have a new version which you now have to push to to where everybody can now use it. So different versions. Now, um, so why do you need a version control system? So a version control system allows you to revert files to their previous state. So you can revert an entire project to its previous state. You can review changes made over time. You can see who last modified something that might be causing a problem. You can also see who introduced an issue and when the issue was introduced. So a version control system kind of lets you see all these things. Who is the person that wrote this code? Who pushed this? Who worked on this aspect of the project? So you're able to know who did all of that because of a version control system. So when you're using a version control system, it means that if you mess up with your code or if you lose files, you can easily recover those files. So say for instance, you're working on your laptop and then for some reason, maybe you have a project you've been working on and then your laptop gets bad or something. So you're in the situation of how do I get my codes? I've been working on this for this company for a while and then everything is lost. But when you push your codes to GitHub, it's saved there. So even if your laptop crashes, you can go back there, reclone what you already have, and then you get everything back. So that's the beauty of using a version control system. Then for some people that are kind of curious, you may want to know who wrote this kind of thing, who wrote this kind of code. And then probably you want to because you're not going to work alone. You're probably going to have a team lead that has to review your codes. So the same way that mentors kind of go through what you've written. So when you're working with a team, you have a team lead that kind of oversees the project. So when you write shitty codes or something, he kind of tells you, oh, this is a better way of doing this. So apply this, change this, all those kind of things. So when you have access to this kind of information, you're able to address issues properly. So these are the few reasons why you kind of need a version control system. So then, what is Git? Now, what is Git? We're talking about version control system. So Git is a version control system for tracking changes in computer files and for coordinating works on those files among multiple people. So it's not just for a one person. It's not just you working on a project and then you push it to GitHub. No, you get to also collaborate because at some point in this program, you're going to have to work with a team. Probably yeah, definitely a designer will give you a design, and then you guys have to kind of come together and work on a particular project and try and achieve that. So different people contributing different bits of code, which makes the whole project. So Git is a distributed version control system. So multiple people working together on a project. All right. So like I said, it's a version control system. So I'll talk about that. So now, what's the workflow? Like, how do you get to use GitHub or Git? So there are some commands which we are going to look at. So this will kind of give us uh, what it entails or what you're going to be doing. So for some of us that we've been seeing a particular, maybe you've been seeing a dark terminal or something, and then you've been wondering, what will I use this place? Or what do people use this place? Or probably you've been watching movies and then you see people writing some kind of code like that in a particular environment, and then you're wondering what is going on here. So today we are going to actually touch those things, and then you're going to see how to use them. So like I said yesterday, you kind of start thinking of yourself like a developer. There's some people that, I think when I started, someone just came to my screen and was like, so now this is the point that you've become a developer. I was kind of wondering why you saying that. I've been doing front end. So is it because I started doing Git? That's why you're now saying now a developer or something of that sort. So you get to see some interesting things. Yeah. All right. So what is a repository? I've actually been talking about repository. Now, a repository, short form as repo, is a collection of source code. So it's like your files. It's your different files, your folder structure, your CSS, your style.css inside your CSS folder, your index.html, all those things inside it. So that is like, it's a collection of your files or your source. That's what a repository is. Now, so when you're working with Git, there are some fundamental things that you need to know about. So there's a working directory, there's a staging area, there's a local repository, there's a remote repository. Now, the working directory, so let me just go over. So the working directory is basically on your laptop, whichever device you're using. So you kind of work on a particular thing. And then you now have to push it over to a staging area. So a staging area is more like, let's say, okay, let's just look at it like Santa Claus. So Santa Claus and his elves, they are kind of working on Christmas is approaching. Yes. So the elves are working, they are working. So you kind of, probably you're making a toy or something like that. You kind of work on the toy. Probably you put the head, and then you're supposed to put the legs, something of that sort. So when you finish doing that, when you finish putting the parts of the body, you kind of move it to a different section. So maybe someone now has to put it in a box. Yes, so someone has to put it in a box. Now, put probably ribbons and all those type of things. Then someone now has to package all of it inside a carton or something, and then you now move it out for Santa Claus to spread it spread it out to all the nice children. I'm still expecting my own, by the way. So so it's more like that kind of thing. So you kind of work on a file, and then you have to add it to a staging area, and then you now have to write a message. So I'm going to talk about them in details to see how all those work. So when you move it to a staging area, you now have to probably tie a message to it that, okay, this is what I have done for this version of this thing, for this version of this this project. This is what I have done. And then if you now want to move it to where other people can have access to it, so the local repository is your laptop. So you have it on your laptop. And then you now have to move it to a remote repository. So when you talk about remote, it means something in the cloud, something online where other people have access to. So you have to git add, you have to git commit, you have to git push. So I'm going to explain this in details shortly. So if you consider a file in your working directory, it can be in three possible states. So the first one is it can be staged. This means that the files with the updated changes are marked to be committed. So you're you're adding it to a local repository. That's when you're staging it. You're adding it to a local repository, but you're not committing it. You're not you're not saying what it's for. So you're just adding up the files. Then another thing is it can be modified. When I say modified, you can make changes to what you worked on before. So say for instance, now maybe Femi Blaze now, okay, but this is on your local, he looks at your code and now it's now like you need to change your buttons, make it to have rounded edges and all those type of things. Probably is in the same room with you because you've not pushed this out. So he looks at your work and then he gives you that kind of review. So you kind of look at what you've done and then you can modify it. You can now make those changes. And then when you now talk about it can be committed. So that means you're now tying a message to it to tell other people that, okay, for this version, this is what I did. So probably I created an about page here, or you just put a message that people can actually relate with. So we will look at all of this in time to come. So I've been speaking of a whole lot of commands. Does anybody have a question so far? If you have a question, can you raise up your hand? Like for people that are actually new to it, you probably you're still thinking, you're still wondering what we are doing. And this is more of theory before we get into something more practical. So, all right. So Natasha, we are getting to that point where you understand what we are doing. So, and then yes, a very interesting point. So when you're using Git, well, you can actually use your phone. You can actually use your phone for Git. So, but like I will still say, it's more effective to use a laptop or a desktop to work on to work on web development. So there are ways you can actually use your phone to do things like this. So that's just what I want us to know, Sha. Yes, simple. So what's your question?
All right, thank you very much. Please, boss, this aspect of this lecture is a bit complicated and very, very new to us, honestly. So I don't know if there's a way you can slow down by to the nearest minimum, please, so we can actually get it. And I feel like writing down these things will not really help us. Like we just need to hear the explanation very well and listen and understand it very well. So I don't know if you can just slow down for us a bit because you seem very fast.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Sorry. I will do my best.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. So going slowly now. So there are some commands which I hope we get the whole picture of Git and GitHub. So
Yes,
it's
yes,
just
yes.
Yeah, all right. So there are some commands because we're actually going to do a more practical session to, yeah, to understand how this works. So there are some basic, so I'm still on this screen now, I'm starting out, I'm just going to do it. So there are some basic commands that you would use when you're when you're trying to add or when you're working with Git. So we'll get to apply it shortly. So so these ones that I kind of use, that these ones are bold, these are the commands. So when you use, because you're going to be typing this out. So when you use a command like git add, so this is a command that you use to add a file that is in a working directory to a staging area. So I talked about staging area. Staging area is more like you're arranging things that should be packed into boxes. So it's more like you've so the same Santa Claus view that I was given. So the elves have finished working, they kind of push it aside. Someone who now has to now arrange it into boxes. So that's what add does. So you're adding there. Now when you talk about committing, that's git commit. Git commit is more like it's a command where you add all the files that are staged into your local repository. So kind of have a copy on your laptop, but unlike unlike when you don't commit it, unlike so when you're working on a project actually, and then you're not using Git, so you're not committing it, you're not adding it to a local repository. So having it on your laptop is kind of different from having it on a local repository. So a local repository is more like a box which you see before you now ship it to an online repository. So because the way your files are structured on your device, you just can't move it like that to GitHub. You have to like store it inside a local repository. You need to box it. You need to add it into a box on your device before pushing it to a remote repository. So that is committing. So commit, you kind of have to label it and like say what you did for that particular version. So we also have a command like git push. So it's a command that you use to add all the committed files in the local repository to a remote repository. So like I said, a local one is your laptop. A remote one is a space in the cloud. So let's just have that in our mind. So in a remote repository, all the files and changes will be visible to anyone with access to that repository. So all the people that are working on that project and that have access to that remote repository have access to it. But a local one is just for you and you alone. But when you push it out there, everybody now has access to see what you're doing. Now, we also have git fetch. Git fetch is a command that you use to get files from a remote repository. So you're kind of getting works, maybe you're getting what other people have worked on so that you have a current version of everything that has happened on the project. Yeah. So you're using git fetch. You're fetching it. Now git merge is when you want to add your own changes. So the changes you've made and then what every other person has contributed, you kind of want to merge it together. So these are terms that you can try to relate with add, commit, you're pushing, you're fetching, you're merging. So as the English name implies, so that's what you're doing. So git pull is you're getting files from a remote repository into your own directory. So you're pulling what other people have done. So this one automatically does the fetch and the merge. So that is about the command. So we'll come back to it. So now this is the more practical part of it, which we are going, I'll do it bit by bit. So a couple of these things we've already okay. For me personally, I've already done this on my device, but I'll just walk you through the steps so that when you're doing it, you don't have issues with it. And I don't know if you can actually do it, if you can, well, probably you have, if you can follow on while I'm doing this, but if you cannot, you just watch the video. So how do you push files to GitHub? First thing that you need to do is you need to have a GitHub account. So you just go to github.com. Are we together? Can you guys hear me? Does anybody have a question? So I'm just going to log out. Yes, it's a very beautiful interface. All right. So this is GitHub, and it's a place that houses plenty of repositories, like your repositories. So you need to create an account here. So you sign up, and yes. So you have to follow everything that they are doing here. I don't think I can actually do all of this. So, but you just need to follow the prompts, create a password, then a username. So when you do all of this, so because it actually takes a while to do this. So you just fill these details. They'll also ask for some verification and stuff. So when you're able to do all of this, yeah, so we are coming to that. If so, so the thing is, I already have I already have an account. So when you finish creating an account and you've signed it, so let me just sign in as one. Yeah, so you kind of get an interface like this. All the repositories the recent repositories, things that you've worked on, they are going to be here. And then maybe you're following other people, you get to see what they've done on this interface. So, and that dark mode, you know. Okay, so yes, dark mode is actually nice. I don't know. I kind of not getting that. It's not coming to mind. I don't know where to get it now. appearance. Okay. Okay. All right. So the pass are dark mode. All right. So yeah, now you get to see here. You get to see what you worked on. So the different projects. This was for instance, this was last year. This was last year. This was a project that they worked on. So you get to see a whole lot of things. Let me see. Profile. So this you get to see like everything about you, what you've been doing, your popular repositories. Like I have 100 items in my repository. And then these are like your contributions. So it's like August, I was very lazy and all of that. And there are a whole lot of things. So these are like contributions. These are like these are like contributions that I've done over the years or over the last year. So each of them you get to see all of that. There's some people that they are gonna it's dirtier than this, like every day they have to push stuff and more. So you get to see all of that. Citrus, so these are different things. So he also gets to work in organizations, different internships, different places that you work on. So you get to see all of this. That's laziness. You have people that have over 1,000. That's 429 is too low. Thank you. All right. Okay, so this is more like you've created a repository. Let's go back to this. So that's like the first step. So then the next thing that you need to do is you need to ensure that you have Git installed. So I'm going to just search for Git. I'm opening the first listing here. So this is their website. So you need to, if you're using Windows, you need to download it. You need to download Git, and then you need to install it. You need to download, you need to install it. I think probably when I'm done with this, I think I'll also give you guys the material so that you can go through it and probably try it out. Yes. If you're not following at once, you have to be as fast as Flash. I can just be doing this. And their internet is also nice too. And then they're also doing it at once. Okay. Yeah, you can follow people up. You can follow people up. So it's more like how do they normally say it? So GitHub is like I call it LinkedIn for developers, not even LinkedIn. More like Twitter for developers, that kind of thing. I can't get it. I am not getting it right. But it's how they normally do that comparison. So developers just use this because when you're applying for jobs, sometimes they ask you, let's see your activity on GitHub, are you lazy? All those kind of things. What are your contributions so far? So yeah, you need to ensure that you're active on GitHub, you're pushing stuff there. So you can follow people there on GitHub because if you check my own, you will notice that there are some people that I'm following and then they're also following me, that kind of thing. Okay, so you need to ensure that you have Windows installed. GitHub. Windows, if you're using Windows, if you're using a Mac, you download the one for Mac. If you're using Linux, you also need to get the version that works for you. So when that is done, what's the next thing to do? So you need to check that Git is installed. So now I'm actually going to bring this up. So I don't know how many of us have seen this interface before. Yeah. So if you've seen this interface before, you can just tell me what this is. Yeah, just raise your hand and yeah, a safe square.
It's a command prompt.
Okay. Yeah, command prompt. Yeah, it's also called a terminal too. Yeah. So we've watched Matrix. We've watched a couple of movies where you see people, they just come here, they're doing stuff, you're wondering what's happening. So when you're working with Git, you get to work with a terminal. You get to add stuff, you get to do a lot of things with your terminal. So all those things I was explaining, we are going to do them bit by bit. But the first thing that you need to do when you've installed Git, you need to check if Git is actually installed. So you do a Git, you do double dash, you do version. So this kind of tells you what version of Git you installed. So if you check now, this is 2.36.0. What I have here is 2.33.1. So you install a current. Yeah, movies make it look so easy. Yes, like they have it all figured out. So you have to check the version, check that. So this kind of tells you that, okay, I have Git installed on my device. So when you've done that, the next thing that you need to do is you need to tell Git who you are if you just installed it for the first time. So remember that when we were creating our repository, I kind of need us, this would have been more practical than what it is. So you kind of have this option of doing a, yeah, so you see, this is like my own username, very funny username here. So this is my username. And then I also have an email that is tied to this account. So when I say you need to tell Git who you are, so it kind of needs to register on your device that, okay, this GitHub account is tied to this user, and then this user is going to be using this laptop or this device to work. So if you're pushing from this device, it's going to your own GitHub account. It's going to your GitHub. Yeah. So how do you tell Git who you are? Because if you're trying to push for the first time and you've not done all of this, Git will ask you for this. It will ask you. So this is like a command that you have to type out. So there are different ways. It's either you can do it on this command prompt, but GitHub is also interesting because it kind of comes with its own terminal, which might actually be nicer. And let me just go to project, documents, projects. So probably I want to, so you see, we have something. So Git adds these commands for you. So you have the Git GUI, or you have a Git bash here. So I'm going to just do a Git bash. And there you go. Okay, so let me pull this up. So this is what a Git terminal looks like. So it's like it's a bit different from the normal command prompt. Git adds this one for you, so you're able to just do all of this here. So back to what I was saying here now. So this command, you need to tell Git what you are doing. So I could just come here. So let me just use I don't know if I'm too fast. Let me just use this command prompt since everybody's okay. I didn't even talk about how to bring this up. So let me just close this. So you kind of so you click on your, what do they call this? Your stats button, or yeah, your stats. You click on this stats icon here, or yeah, button. And then you kind of search for CMD. So when you type CMD, it should actually come out. You click on it, and then it pulls it up. Using two screens, so it's actually opening on this other side. So this is it. So that's how you kind of bring up your terminal. That's how you bring this. So if you're not doing this, you will now have to go to the particular folder where you want to work on. Let's say, for instance, we start working on this film suite, and then probably you want to add this file, you want to do something here, you want to push this to GitHub. So when you right click on it, you click on show more. Okay, for Windows 11, that's what it does. So for Windows 10, I think you kind of have everything all lined up for you. So you now click on Git Bash here. When you click on Git Bash here, it brings up this terminal. That was, where's this guy going from? This was 1980. Yeah, so you have this terminal. So in case you want to use the one from Git, yeah, the one that Git provides for you, or if you want to use this other one, you can use either of them. So let me just minimize this one. So using this one now, you kind of so that's why I'm saying it will not show. It will not show on your. If you're using a mobile device, it won't show. That's why I say use a laptop. So here now, I'm going to get this command now. Okay, yes. You can also you can view it, you can do it on VS Code too. There's a terminal there. So guys, all right, let me just pull VS Code up. If you want to explore everything at once. So VS Code also has its own terminal. So this is the terminal here. So at this base here, you kind of also have a terminal here, which you can also do the same thing here. And type out commands here and work with that. So, but let's just go bit by bit, so that we don't get confused, because Git can be tricky. So I'm going to paste what I copied here. Okay. So reasons that the now from here. So yeah. Okay, so first things first, you need to do the Git. Yeah, because it's Git, that's why it has to start with Git. You need to configure it. So Git config. And then you do dash dash global. So because global is like for your device, for your laptop device, yeah. So global. And then you do a user.name. So that's referring to you now. And then inside there, you now do your puts. Then you do that kind of stuff. And then you press enter. So this name here is your username, the username that you did when you were creating a GitHub repository. Yeah. So you have to do this. You have to type this command as it is like this. Don't make any mistake in it. Git configure global for this for your device, user.name, and then your username here. So when you do that, I'm pressing my up arrow key to bring out the last command I wrote. You can also do the same thing for your email. So for the email, you now, and then see the way this is appearing. This is underneath. It's not like when you're typing out stuff. So your cursor is kind of under the text. So in case you're trying to delete stuff and then you're deleting something else, so take note of where the cursor is. So it's deleting all of that one by one. So I put my email on the email. So that's the email that you use to sign up for. So you need to do this and then do this. And when you do it, you now press enter. So when you've done all of this now, so when you've done all of this, the next thing that you need to do now is you need to confirm that what you've done. The email and the username that you put is that what you actually meant? Is that what you wanted to put in? So I'll do a git config global and then you list it out. So these are like small commands that you kind of need to know. Sorry. Then my list, okay, a dash and a list. So there's a dash in front of this. Make a mistake, it tries to correct you. So you see now, the user's email is this. The username is this other one. Are we confused so far? Does anybody have a question? Yeah. Okay, so I believe we are following. So when you've done this now, the next thing that you need to do is you need to create a repository on GitHub. You need to create a repository on GitHub. So you finish your sort of, let me call it a registration. Now you now want to do other things because you registered on GitHub and then you now want to apply what you've done. So come to your GitHub. Now you see this button here that says new. So we're going to click on it to create a new repository. So let's pay attention. I believe you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Can hear you, sir.
All right. So now here, so we have, this is an interface where you want to create a new repository. So your repository, like I said, it contains your source code, like files that you've worked on. So here now, the things that are very important, those are the ones that have this red mark here. So you have the owner of the repository, which would be your own name, your username. Then now we're using this project that we started working on, this Pin Suite project. So we want to kind of push this to GitHub now. So you need to give it a name. Now I'm going to call it KodeCamp in Suite. So if there's no name that matches that on the repository, it kind of tells you that, oh, this is available, and gives you this check. So when you've done this, you could add a description if you want. So yeah, good. All right. Now we also have this option of do you want it to be a public repository or a private repository? Now, when you talk about public and private repository, so it says anyone on the internet can see this. So there are repositories on this my GitHub account that if I send them to you, you have access to my codes. You can actually copy or clone what I have. So that makes it kind of public. Anybody has access to it. So far as you just get a link to my repository. Private now is probably you're in a company, is a product, and then you don't want to know about it until it's actually released. You don't want people to have access to that code. But even when it is released, you just want people to use what you've developed. So you keep it private so that only people that you invite to work on that project have access to it. So that's what they do. They just have private repositories, and then you just work on a particular project or a particular feature, and then just push your stuff. Someone is drawing on my screen. Okay, so here now I'm going to make it a public repository so that anybody can have access to it, not private. So if I make it private, you will not be able to get it. So except I add you to the repository as a contributor. Then you can also initialize this repository with a README file. Yeah, you can initialize this with a README file. Yeah, so it's all right. Then you can also add Git-ignore when you start working on projects like I use probably Vue or React, and then you don't want to push because when you're using Vue or React, you kind of have this large number of files in your node module folder. So a node module folder just consists of files that assist your projects to work very well. But when you're pushing this folder actually contains a lot of codes, which pushing to GitHub it requires internet. So it's not something that you just do offline. So when you're pushing your node models, it's actually consuming data because you're pushing maybe, let me just roughly estimate, maybe 550 MB or 30 MB worth of of files. So imagine that amount of data just going out for pushing. So you don't want to push that kind of file out. So inside your Git ignore is you put folders or files that you don't want to push to GitHub inside it. So in time, we'll actually see how some of these things work. So when you're done with that, I've explained, but the basic things is this and this. You want a description. So when you do all of that, you now click on create the repository. So yeah, now I have all of this. Now I have all of this. All right. So what's the next thing to do after creating this? Because we've created that. So the next thing is you need, let's say for instance, you've been working on a project before. Something like this. Yeah. So we've been working on this project before. I'm going to close it. So this finished suite, we've been working on it. And then probably I just want to open it on command prompt. I can just do CMD here. Press enter. So it brings this up. You can actually open a folder directly. When you open that folder, when you're inside the folder, just come to this top section here. And you just do CMD. Press terminal, a terminal that has a project. So this is that folder. So this is inside document and then field suite. So this is the folder now. Now, what do I folder here? Is anybody confused up to this point? Like you didn't get what I did, you didn't get how I did this.
You got it, sir, but your voice is breaking.
Okay. Start facing that network. Okay. So is it better now?
Yes.
All right. So we're inside this pin suite folder. So it has to show when you're using your terminal and you want to work on a particular project, ensure that you're inside that folder. So how do you know that you're inside the folder? The folder name will be the last thing that you see here before this angular bracket. Oh yeah, before this angular bracket. So you would want to when you locate the folder where you want to place under Git, you want to initialize Git here. So you need to initialize first. Like you need to say, okay, I want to do things with Git now. So you need to type out Git init. Then you press enter. So it now tells you initialize an empty Git repository inside here now. Now, how do you know that has happened? So when you look here now, so the way I do my code is different. Okay, so I like to show all my hidden items. So if I uncheck this now, you see that you don't see that that's Git stuff. So it's actually a hidden folder here. So at the top here, depending on what operating system you're using, when you click on view, click on show, or just find where you have hidden items and then check it. So when you check it, you kind of see that you have this .git folder that has been initialized for you. So you have it inside this. These are the folders: my CSS, my IMG, my JS, and then this index.html. So like it gave me this, it told me that I have initialized an empty Git repository inside here. Now, say for instance, I want to now create another file. I want to create a file inside this folder now. Using command prompt, you can actually create files inside here. What do I need to do? I can just say touch index. Let me just say about okay. A moment. Okay, so yeah, I think I got it. So yeah, touch is, I think touch is for a different echo uh about, yeah, people are funny. Thank you. So when you're using Windows, yeah, you get this slide. Thank you. So I'm actually going to edit that. So depending on what operating system you're using, touch works for Linux. Yeah, but Echo works for Windows. So I kind of mix things up there. So that's more of life. That's important. All right. So yeah. So let's just confirm, because I kind of did that this thing. Sorry. Let me go back here. So when I did echo about.html, so it kind of created this about.html. So when you check your folder now, where did it create that? Trying to find that. Let me just list my directories and check. This is film suites. So let me. DIR. Yep. So DIR kind of. So DIR is actually to show a list of directories that, and that's right in here. So DIR is kind of to show a list of directories that are inside this folder that we have now. So for reasons, reasons. I cannot see the about. Let me just confirm. Style.css is here. And we have this. Let me just expand this. So the file we created is not here. I'm there. Okay, please. I will get back to us on that. Don't know why that's starting. I'll get back to us on that. So, so that notwithstanding, so doing some okay, so that notwithstanding, let's just okay. Let's just take it one at a time. So we've initialized a Git repository. So I'll get back to how you can create files with your command prompts. There's something I'm missing there. So I need to clear this so that so let me just open this again. And we just get the pictures. Okay. That's when you're creating. That's when you're creating. That's when you're creating a directory. I need to put this up. Using multiple screens. It's going on and on. Yeah, make directories for making a directory. So when you want to just create a folder, mkdir, then you do something. So if I now list my directories, you see now I have a direct. So these are directories. So directories are like folders. Folders that I just so CSS, remember, is a folder. IMG is a folder. JS is a folder. So this dir is also a folder. If you check here now, you see that we have this here. Yeah, I'll get back to us on that. But let's just get the picture because I kind of need us to understand how you can add your work. GitHub rather. So we're inside this folder now. And remember that we kind of initialized a Git repository here. Now, there are different ways we can actually make this work. So you can either use this here or you can use this inside your terminal, whichever one works for you. Whichever one works for you. So So let's try that. It's a nice suggestion. And something. Now I have to do let's just do that. Okay, so he actually needs the content. Yeah. So for you to create a directory, thank you for that. What to do that? So for you to create a file here, that file would not be empty. So you kind of need to do, if you're using Windows, you do an echo and then so I'm not getting, yeah. I'm not getting your point there. Enter something. Can you explain more about what you mean? Yeah. So when you're using echo, yeah.
You were saying that the command you just entered now, the echo something about .html.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes. So it's actually here. So when I did that echo and then just a text inside this, so you see you now point it towards the about the HTML here using this angular brackets. So when you list your directories using dir is actually to list your directories here. mkdir is to make directories. So mk is for make directory. So you're creating a folder when you're using this. So dir is to list it out. So now you now see that we have this about.html here. If you come here now, you also see that we have this about.html. And if I open this, so let me just open it and confirm something. So this is the about.html. It has this that text that we put inside it here. Yeah. So that's the way it's actually, that's how it works. So this is for creating, if you want to use your terminal to create this, but if you don't want, you can just do it the normal way inside here so that you don't stress yourself. Yes, LS work on on Linux. I kind of used Linux for a while, that's why it just ran into my head. I had to use that. So back to what we're doing. We don't get lost here. So you see that about HTML showing up here. So we now have to do more like we need to know the status of what we've done. So let's do a Git status here. So like I said, this is use Git for tracking files. So when you type Git status kind of tells you, see what is happening. You have about.html, you have CSS folder. Okay. So I think we need to experiment on a whole lot of things. Right. Let me see. Okay, let me just try not to deviate. Let me just explain this first. So So we have all these files here. We have about.html, we have this folder, CSS, we have img, we have index.html, we have JS here. So all these files, they have not been, all these files, they've not been tracked. They are untracked. That's why you see untracked files here. So you've not added them. So this is like one aspect. This is more like you can do it. You can do all of this here. Alternatively, I was talking about using your VS Code. So if I do a code, if I type code and then put a full stop here, I just hope this does not get overwhelming because it is actually something else. So if you type code and then put a full stop, you have to be inside your folder. If I press enter, it brings up my VS Code for me. So this terminal now, so you see, because, oh, I didn't talk about this. Because we initialized a Git repository inside this FinSuite folder, that's why you have this master repository. There's this master branch. So we have something called branches because when different people get to work on a project, you have different versions. So this person has his own version, this person has his own version. And so that you will not have conflicts in your work. So you have to like have different branches where people can actually push stuff from. So if you check here now, when you're using VS Code, it's even more kind of interesting because you need an extension here. So you need this Git lens, Git lens. I think that's just the major thing that you need. So you see all of this now. So these are like, they are files that are untracked. This U here stands for untracked. So these files now, you need to kind of add them. You need to be able to add them to your local repository first. So let me try that ls here. So different terminals doing different things. So inside here now, that ls kind of it works here. But using your CMD is actually trying to be stubborn. So when you do ls, it says it doesn't recognize it. And then I don't want us to get confused with too many command prompts. So you can actually just yeah. So I don't want us to get confused with a whole lot of terminals and terminal commands and all of that. Yeah. So please ignore this JS. I kind of tried something out here, so don't mind that. So inside here now, so I don't want us to get confused. I'm going to clear this up. Then, so we're using this terminal, you can clear. So here now, I want to add what I have worked on. So I have worked on all these folders. I initialized it. So this is still the same CMD stuff. So when you've initialized Git, you have to do some settings so that your terminal here can actually use Git bash. So let me see if I get this. So here now, you see set default profile. So when you click on set default profile, you have this Git bash. You can use command prompt, you can use PowerShell. So for your for your VS Code, it's best you just use Git bash. So that's why I'm using Git bash here. So inside here now, all those things that we've been doing outside on the command on the CMD, you can actually do it inside here. So now I want to add all these files and folders inside here. So what do? I just do a git add. If I just want to add a single file, maybe my about.html, I can just do about.html and then press enter. So you see now this now changes to A. So this has been added. So for me to open this, let me just close this again. This is terminal at the top here of VS Code. You just click on new terminal, and this comes up. So if I do inside here now, I'm just going to type out git status. So you see now, we've added a new file. This is a new file that we've added, about.html. So it's the only added thing here. The other things here, we've not added them. So this CSS, it will now show, it's now showing red. So CSS, IMG, index, all of this, JS, they are still showing on red. But when you add them, they show on green. So I did git add about.html because I just wanted to add one file. Now we want to add everything inside here. The CSS folder, the about, the index, the JS, though this about has already been added, but we just want to add everything here. So how do you do that? So you do git add, and then you do a full stop, git add all. So this full stop here, this full stop means all. Git add everything that is inside here, git add all. So if I do, so you see now, everything has now changed into A here. So it has been added. So if I just type git status, so you use git status to know what has been added, what has been deleted, what has been modified, that kind of thing. So you see now, so all the files inside here and the folders, they've been added. So this is CSS/style.css and all of that. So they've all been added inside here. Is anybody confused? Does anybody have a question? Please, if you have questions, you can ask. Because I know Git can actually be overwhelming. It takes like you to practice. You need to practice more so that you don't get confused. Yes, add is like saving your work. It's like saving your work. You're just saving it. Or you're just arranging it so that you save. When you save, is when you commit. You have to add a commit because now that we've added this now, we need a commit message. Yes, in the hypothetical box, you guys are funny, thank you. So, so the next thing that we need to do after this, so we've added, the next thing, let me just go back to this. So we've done git add all. So if you wanted to be specific, you can actually do git add a readme.md. So before you commit, you do a git status if you're uncertain of what you need. So you can just do git status to know all the new or modified files to be committed. Then the next thing that you need to do is you need a commit message. So a commit message here tells what that particular task is doing. So and your commit message has to be very, as it has to be descriptive. Like you need to like so that someone knows what that task is performing. So all our files here, the goal is that when we finish doing all of this and now push to GitHub, we can now see it on GitHub. We can now see all the files, all these files now. They will now show up inside our repository because now our repository is empty. You come here now, see that when you reload this page, you see that there's nothing inside. You're just seeing this list of commands. You're just seeing these commands. All right, so yes, this is actually what I was even trying to do. So, let's not get ourselves confused. So we've done Git status to see what we've added. So the next thing is you need to do a Git commit. So committing, not committing into the hands of the Lord. Git commit. So when you do Git commit, you have to put a message -m here. So this -m stands for a message. I need to leave a message to say what I actually did for this aspect. So the commit message here can just be, so we have, when you're working on big projects, we have features, we have bugs, we have, what's the other one? We have chores. So you have chores. So these are like what you use to identify what you're doing at that instance. So say for instance, you're creating a folder, you're setting up how the folder structure so that maybe other people can just have a copy of what you have and start working on their own end. So that is like a chore. When you're working on something like maybe a sign-up feature and all of that, so that's like a feature. When you're working on or maybe you're trying to fix, or maybe someone broke something or there's a code that doesn't work and then you're fixing it up, that's like a bug. So this can just be like a chore because I just created folders. I know I've actually done some stuff here. So you do a chore. So CH there is for chore. And you're like, created a use with projects. So this has to be a message. This has to be a message that specifies what you're doing. So you have to put it inside quotes. No, I think, let me just pull this up. So when you do this, can you guys still hear me?
We can.
All right. So when you do this, you now press enter. So when you press enter, you kind of see this create mode is you've created all of this. So this has now been saved into your repository. This has now been put into your repository, your local repository, not the online one now. So if we do a Git status now, so it tells you nothing to commit, working branch clean. So everything, we've added everything here. So there's no modified stuff. There's no change stuff here. So this is now saved in our local repository. So this is for your device now. Now, let's go back to our slide. What's the next thing to do? So we've committed now into the hands of the Lord. Let me just let this slide show you. All right. So the next thing now, you need to kind of, so remember that I said your local repository is the one that you alone just sees. So the next thing, yeah, it could actually be seen. So the next thing that you need to now do is you need to now kind of create a connection between your remote repository. So this, what we created here is a remote repository. So you need a connection between your remote repository and then your local repository. So that's when you now do this, you now copy this Git. I'm just going to do it one after the other. So I paste this here. So Git, pull this up. So you're doing Git remote add. Git remote. So this now specifies that is a remote repository. Git remote add origin, like where you're getting it from, where you're going to be pushing. So origin, the link to your repository. So this is linked to your repository. So it has this github.com/ your username and then the name of the folder .git. So when you do this, you now press enter. So when you press enter now, you want to be certain that what you've done, what you've added is inside here. So you do what? Git, you want to see all of them, git remote -v. So tells you that, okay, you've added this before doing this. Let me just see if I can reverse what I did. Let me remove. Remove E. Okay, so I don't know why this guy is coming out. Okay, so I want us to understand something. That's why I'm trying to explain what is going on here. Okay. Sorry, just give me a moment. Okay. So it's remote move. So if I do remote sorry, it's remote. So you see now, when I do git remote -v, so that -v actually stands for, it stands for a list of all your branches. I don't know, I've forgotten what the V actually means, but it kind of lists everything, every repository that you have online, like that you have linked to this folder now. So say for instance, you are working with a project. At the point, maybe you get to fork a project, like you create a copy from another person's project. So you probably want to do a so you probably want to add maybe an upstream, maybe somewhere that you'll be pushing, you'll create a pull request. So some of these things we'll get to learn them in time. So when you create a copy of a person's code, when you create a copy of a person's code, you kind of like want to add not just the origin. Origin could just be your own. And then you could have another one as upstream. Upstream is like maybe the main repository, the main project. So probably you want to have a copy for yourself and then still be pushing to the main project. So you can add more than just your origin. I'm going to, let me just clear this in because I think it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot now. So here now. So I want to add that, add my remote repository now. So I'm going to do git remote. This should be an add. So let me just, yeah, git remote, you're adding now, git remote add origin, and then this now, the link to my repository, and I press enter. So if I now do git remote -b, so you now see this is back now. Before that was not there. Then the next thing that you want to do is probably, if you're using this now, you want to create maybe a branch, a different branch. You don't want to push to master. If you don't want to push to master, you can actually change your master branch to main branch. So that's what this does. So the origin of masters, so it used to be master branch, but I think because of the master slave kind of thoughts, so they kind of changed it to main. This thing used to be put git branch master back then, but because of the blacks, so that you will not be, it won't sound like you're calling people, you're doing a master slave kind of this thing. So more like trying to avoid the slavery mentality. So they now renamed it to main. So you want to now change your branch name to main. So I copied that. I'm going to come here now. I'm going to paste that git branch -m. So you're modifying this branch. So you now see it changed. This is branch. So like I said, you can have different branches now. So I changed it to a main branch, which is what we are seeing up here. So for you to see the branches that you have, you can just say git. Maybe I'm too fast. Git branch. So you see that we have only one branch now. We have only one branch. So am I too fast, guys?
No.
Are you sure you're not more than a beginner? The person that said no is like you're more than a beginner. So I'm trying to take it slowly, Shan. So just, yeah, you can just go on. You can just look through the video again. So here now, I've added before, I've committed. So I now want to push to my remote repository. So git push. So this is like when you want to push now. Git push origin. Sorry. You need to specify your brand, where you're pushing to. Origin. So remember that we added origin here, git push origin, and then the name of your branch, main. So, if this can go, git push. So you actually need internet for this. So if this pushes, you actually get to see this. Alternatively, you could still have used the command here. This git push -u. So this already handled that. So you could have actually just used this, but I just did git push origin main. So if I come to my repository now on GitHub now, and I refresh this page, you now see that we have everything that our folder is inside here. My CSS, my IMG, my JS, my about, my index, and they are all there like abracadabra. This is not where developers give up. This is just where you start enjoying things. Okay, so for some reason this is always coming out. Okay, so we have all of this here. We have all of this. So this is our file. These are our folders, our files here. So I want to show us one more thing, though we'll actually get to a point where we get to talk about this. So this is that file that we created before. I want to host this file. I want so that people can actually have access to it. So what do? I come to settings here. And so I come to settings. Under settings now, you find pages. So this is pages. You click on pages. When you click on pages, this is GitHub pages. So you're using GitHub pages to kind of like post what you worked on so that you can share the link with someone else. You see this place that we have none here. You're going to change it to the name of the branch that you have. So this is the only branch that I have here. So I forgot to show us something. So let me just go back here. So this is, remember that on your terminal, we had something called main. So if you drop this down, you see that this is the only branch here, main. And that's the same thing that we have on our VS Code terminal. So back to what we were doing. So if you have multiple branches, you'll see all of them on this place. So maybe you're working on an about page, and then you have an about branch. So this is where the branch will be. And then you come here. So that is, I'm going back to settings. I'm coming to pages. Here now I'm going to change this, and I'm from none, I'm going to change it to main. So when you change it to main, you now save. So when you save it, it now tells you your site is ready to be published. So this is my GitHub listing, and then this is the name of the project. So if I click on this, so this actually happens. Let me just go back to it. I'll open another tab. So when you actually host, you're hosting it on GitHub pages. So GitHub pages provides a way of hosting what you work on so that you can actually have access to this. So you actually sometimes you get this error where it tells you cannot see your page. Yeah, so sometimes you just need to wait for a while and then refresh your page. Then you see what you work. I know it's actually a whole lot. Done a whole lot. This is more like a serious crash course. That's why I said we should just use one eye and be looking at it so that you don't get confused. So, does anybody have a question so far? If you have question, you can just raise up your hand. Let's see if I can answer it. Is anybody confused? Yes, Obumneme. Yeah, ask your question.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Sir, my question is, at some point when you were doing some things in the beginning, you were saying something like we're showing different commands. I don't know, is it that it's based on your operating system? That's how the commands work, or I don't know. I don't.
So so there are stuff that work for different terminals. If you're using like what we actually saw, if you're using command prompts, there are some commands that may not work. You're using if you're using what's that PowerShell, there are some commands that work. So different this thing. So the thing is, when you're using Git bash actually looks at it like this is a Linux terminal. So there are some commands that you just use here and it just works. So it's just different. That's why you need to kind of hook up Git bash so that it kind of helps you so that you do stuff properly. But I think probably we need to have another session where we get to talk about it more. So I'll try and arrange that so that we just go through it again. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Don't be Lola. The guy that is not.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning.
Okay, all right. The CH you added in front of your commit message. What was it for?
Yeah, I like I said, there are different for me, that is like there are different so it's either it's a chore, you're working on a bug, or you're working on a feature. So those are like different branches based on the work you're going to be doing on a project. So since I created folder and did a couple of things, so it's the first thing I'm doing. So when you're creating folders and all of that, so it's like a chore. Yeah, like you're doing housekeeping and all those kind of things. So you get to you just set it out there like this is a chore that I worked on. If you're working on a feature, you just put FT, which stands for feature, in front of it, and then colon, and then whichever message. And then if you're working on a bug, you put bug in front of it. So it's just different people do use different conventions, but that's like the one that works for me. I don't know if you get that.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Thanks.
Yeah. I cannot pronounce that. I know he has black. Is it black bee? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Actually, I asked a question. What is remote name? And there is one question I have again. On my VS Code, actually someone has a Git account on my VS Code. And whenever I wanted to like commit to my GitHub, it's give me some kind of different warning, like the error in remote something, commit error, and so many things. So whenever I want to like commit my GitHub, you just have to fork me to the person's Git account instead of my account.
Yes, so that's why I said you need to tell Git who you are. You need to kind of remove. You need to change. But the laptop is your own, right?
Yes, I tried logging the person out, but I can't.
So did you configure it the way we did before? Probably you need to do this configuration that we did today, this global configuration, so that it actually registers as your own, not
Okay.
someone else's.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to go through the.
Then the other question was what? Sorry. Sorry?
Sir?
The other question was what?
What is remote name?
Okay, so remote name is the name of the repository. Yeah. That's like the remote name.
Okay.
So guys, we'll actually talk more about this. I'll arrange for a session. So I know it's a whole lot. But yeah. It's a whole lot, but we'll actually do it step by step. And good enough, we have some wonderful guys that have done this before. So they will actually assist you when you run into errors or you have issues. And I'll also be there to respond to you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so I think that's all. So we have come to the end of the class. So please, if you have tasks to do, try and do them. If you have things to attend to, please try and do them. And please, those people that are still in stage one, yeah, just help them out. Beg, Ejo. Yes. So that's where we'll come to the end of the class. Thank you guys for coming. Enjoy the rest of your